Okay, so we've been working all day at the Intermot show on the knock stand, and actually as part of what we're doing here, we wanted just to show you guys a couple of the really key launches, and this, it has to be said, is pretty much the most important launch at this show, which is a GS 1250. It's the biggest bike in the UK, it's probably the biggest bike in Europe.
I'd say so.
Yeah, you'd agree, Mark, right?
You're not far off. It's the best-selling motorcycle in the UK, along with the Adventure, so the bigger tank variant of this bike, and it's been probably that way for a number of years now. So it's a big deal for BMW, and a big deal for the UK market.
You've owned one of these, Mark,
yeah.
So you can kind of talk a little bit personally about this.
I'm supposed to be the expert, so
yeah.
We'll see how it goes. So I had the previous edition of that, the 1200. It was the rally spec bike, so it had the blue frame and all the toys. It was a fantastic bit of kit, and it's going to be pretty difficult for me to be impartial about this, in fairness.
Right. Okay. Why? Because you love it. I love the.
Look, the thing for me when I'm picking a new motorcycle is that I'm always trying to find a bike that ticks all the boxes. It's the age-old quest for a biker. It's impossible to do, but in fairness, BMW probably come closest with this bike. It does. It's all things to all men.
Yeah.
It'll go off-road. You can tour on it for hour after hour after hour. You can
I always think about this bike as a bit of like, it's just a mile muncher. Most of the people I know, they're not taking it off road.
No, right? You're absolutely right. And I think 95% of people who own and buy run one of these, they're never going to take it off road. The most they'll off road it is ride it up a curb, perhaps. But it will, make no mistake, this is a hugely capable motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
It will do off-roading, it will do mile munching. You can take it and hustle it. I'm pretty sure that we had a conversation very recently about how you got overtaken on a track day on an R6 by somebody riding one of these. And it was the slower version, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, I'd had a few beers by that point, Mark, so I didn't want to necessarily bring that out on YouTube, but yeah. It was my first track day.
A few beers today, or a few beers after just before you got on the track?
Yeah, I was riding this R6. I'm thinking I'm doing really well, and all of a sudden, there's the
familiar sound of a Boxer Twin.
Yeah.
But I mean, so they didn't really need to make a huge amount of change to this bike, and in fact, in some respects, I'm a bit disappointed. Aesthetically, it is identical to the 2017 model year bike. The only significant differences in the way it looks are the cam covers, just to signify that it's had an upgrade in this engine size and the fact that it's badged with 1250. So what they've done this year is increase the capacity of the motor, which in turn has obviously increased the performance. 136 PS, which is 134 horsepower, 92 foot-pound of torque. So, it's one of those bikes where you can put it in a longer gear and you just twist the happy handle and it'll do what you want it to do. So there's a couple of reasons around that. One, obviously, the competitors are now running bikes with huge power. So that, there's obviously a compulsion to increase the performance. And also, Euro 4 legislation means that if you increase the capacity of a motor, it's easier for you to remain within the legislation requirements.
In terms of emissions.
In terms of emissions, exactly. I think the biggest change is, and it's been well publicised over the last couple of weeks, and the bike was officially launched, I think, a week or two ago, and most of the major publications have ridden it, is the variable valve timing in the motor.
Sure.
So, again, a couple of reasons for that. Low down, it's smoother, it's more efficient, it's more frugal, and up top, when it slides that cam across and it opens the motor up, you've just got a faster, quicker, harder performance. So it gives you the best of both worlds. That's essentially what it'll do.
Well, maybe a bit of this bike, Mark, is about, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely.
And every time I look at the regregistration figures that we have in the UK, this bike, between the two variants, absolutely kills it. And everyone that I talk to who owned one of these loves it.
For
like
those
a Land Rover.
It is a Marmite bike, though.
A Range Rover, I should
there's
say.
a kind of standing joke with GS riders. They're all kitted out in their touring stuff. They've got hard panniers. But, the reality is, you ride one of these bikes, you look at it and think, oh, my goodness, it's a land yacht.
Yeah.
It's going to be impossible, but because the engine's mounted low, because the weight's all the way down there, it is the easiest bike in the world to ride. It's so comfortable. You can sit. I mean, I went to Spain on mine last year. I did 3,500 miles in 10 days. It didn't miss a beat. And never did I feel like, it's going to irritate me. It's uncomfortable. It vibrates. It just does everything incredibly well. And essentially, what they've done is they've just fine-tuned a couple of different little things. The other sort of big significant change, obviously the TFT display. So,
sure.
Full digital. It's excellent. In fact, it was introduced on the 850, the smaller brother of this bike, which came last year. LED headlight is now standard,
And the hill start.
and the hill start, which is I mean, you know,
That's a great thing. I mean, this is a quarter of a ton machine.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so you're going to get it on a hill now, and anything over 5 degrees.
5 degrees of angle,
apply the back brake automatically, and then let it off.
It's essentially like if you drive a modern car, it's like an electronic handbrake with the same principle. You don't touch the handbrake, you don't touch the brake, you don't touch the lever or the foot brake. You just wind the throttle on, release the clutch, and bang off you go.
And the great thing about BMW, right? You can put all these mod cons on, but with a BMW, you know it's going to work.
Yeah.
You know
I mean, I'm the worst person to talk about BMWs. We need to go and review something else.
Yeah, okay.
I've had 1 or 2 of these, and they are exemplary in terms of their reliability. There's not an awful lot more I can say about it. This is the new HP edition. There are obviously a bunch of different colourways. I'm sure we'll show them in the video at some point. You've got a new black bike, which is just over there, and then you've got, I think, blue and a grey. So they're trying to cover off all the bases. It's, again, as I say, aesthetically, almost an identical motorcycle, just with a few technical changes that just enhance the whole rider experience.
Great bike, and
great bike.
Really super important, a nice improvement.
And I've got a feeling I'm going to get a call from my BMW dealer pretty soon.